Just how I like it.
Hiding right behind his
exactly. I like to be Wilson. Okay, you know what I mean? Just see the eyes.
Wilson. Oh, that Wilson.
No, not Tom Hanks Wilson.
No. Tim Allen Wilson.
We are live. Back once again. Bender Knows Best. Round 2 of going live. Welcome, Pat.
Hi.
Last time we watched the third period of the Caps game, which led into almost a full game.
Jeez.
Yeah.
They like to make it interesting.
In a double overtime. This week's going to be a little different. Pat, you are here definitely to talk about the NFL draft coming up.
I am here to talk about the NFL draft, and it's coming up.
2 days.
Do you got anybody you think might be a surprise in the first round coming up? Maybe might sneak into the top 10 that wouldn't normally be in it?
Okay, so for example, sneaking into the top 10, well, I don't know if they're necessarily I've seen just about as many mock drafts as I can possibly see without puking. And the most recent reports have so the Colts were originally at 3 and traded back to 6 with the Jets. The Jets gave them, I think, 3 second-round picks, and obviously this year's 6th-round pick, which, sidebar real quick, made me thrilled because, in my opinion, if the Colts are trading back from 3 to 6, they're not looking for a quarterback replacement for Andrew Luck, the best player in the league. And so he's
ready to best player in the league.
I mean, if you don't count like 40 or 50 other guys, he is. So that was a good thing. But going back to what you're talking about, guys coming into it seems as though the Jets have decided on taking Baker Mayfield, the most recent Heisman Trophy winner, with the 3rd pick. A long time ago, they were linked to Josh Allen. Then more recently, they were linked to Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen has actually fallen on a lot of mocks. I think teams kind of see him as having like this poor man's Aaron Rodgers image where he's got, an attitude like Aaron Rodgers has an attitude, but he's obviously not as good as Aaron Rodgers, which is a tall order to fill anyway.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers wasn't even Aaron Rodgers back when he was Aaron Rodgers.
Right. There's, I guess, to this day, a lot of people talk about how if Tom Brady was picked 199th, that's like the biggest steal of all time. You could argue that Aaron Rodgers, when he fell to 24 instead of what he obviously should have been the first pick in that draft, that's a mega steal too. Yeah. But anyways, back to this year's draft. The Browns take a quarterback at number 1. I don't think there's any confusion out of my mind about them taking a quarterback at number 1. You need a quarterback in this league to succeed, and they have, they have first pick. So they can pick whoever they want. They don't necessarily have to pick who they're just going to pick whoever's best for them. The overwhelming consensus say it's Sam Darnold, and I think that's exactly right. He's the most pro-ready. Then best running back prospect pre-draft since Adrian Peterson. Better than Elliott, better than Gurley, better than Fournette, better than anyone coming in.
Okay, about to say Elliott is pretty much a stud. He was a stud coming in, though.
Well, I think Barkley is no less a stud than Elliott was, and I think he's a little bit better of a pass-catching threat than Elliott, although Elliott doesn't really need to be. He runs behind the best line in the NFL. They got 2 first-team All-Pros.
They could part the Red Sea.
The Giants don't pass on Barkley. The Jets take whatever quarterback they want. It's probably going to be Mayfield. Then the Browns also have the 4th pick. So they'll take the best player available. Most people, including myself, consider if Barkley's going to be gone at 2, they'll take Chubb, the edge rusher out of NC State, to pair on the other side of Myles Garrett. Look out for that to be a top 5 pass rush. I know it's Cleveland. I know that Garrett didn't play half the season last year, and I know Chubb's going to be a rookie. But if it weren't for Barkley, and maybe not even more so than Barkley, I think Chubb is arguably the safest pick in this year's draft. The guard coming out of Notre Dame, Nelson, who I really hope the Colts take because their offensive line is Swiss cheese, and that's why Andrew Luck, probably doesn't have a shoulder anymore. Need to protect that.
Is he expected to be back early this season?
Yes. I haven't heard any chatter about like Jacoby Brissett taking on a bigger workload than him. And like I said, the fact that they traded back, in my opinion, means they're not concerned with replacing him. Yeah. Now, they can still get a quarterback at 6 because, say, Cleveland and New York take one. Mikey's not here, but he keeps entertaining the idea that maybe Cleveland will double down on quarterbacks with 1 and 4 because of the horrendous history they've had. That's not happening.
That's like that would even be outdo the Redskins of picking Robert Griffin and Kirk Cousins in the same.
Wait,
same
hold on.
draft.
I need to back up in case this goes sideways.
Not in case it was win.
And you know, everyone freaked out when that 4th round pick came in, and you're exactly right. As we look back on it, you know, hindsight is always 20/20, so you can see.
Definitely.
But I think that he saw the writing on the wall with this kid, and it did not fit his scheme. He didn't want RG3, but you know, when the owner comes down with the word he wants to make a splash, what are you gonna do? You gonna get fired? You gonna, you know?
Yeah.
So unrelated to the draft,
boss.
I got a question for you. Where do you land on the Alex Smith trade? Because if you ask me, I think it is a pure upgrade from Kirk Cousins. I don't think Kirk Cousins was ever going to get it done for us. I think he was a good quarterback. I don't think he was ever going to take us all the way.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I think that the absolute worst you could consider Alex Smith is as good as Kirk Cousins. So I do agree that it's an upgrade. I think Alex Smith is better on his feet, which I think in this league. So, okay, so we were just talking about RG3 and how, but I think RG3 was he was instinct, a run first quarterback, similar to Lamar Jackson coming into this draft. But I think that, you know, Alex Smith, the one thing that I really hope, and you know, it's not fair to talk about this with Alex Smith without saying about every other quarterback in the league, is you got to put guys around him. You have to put, I mean, in my opinion, like if you take into account like health and talent, Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the NFL. If Gronk was healthy 16 games a year, he overwhelmingly would be the best tight end. But Jordan Reed is also not healthy.
How about Jordan Reed when he's healthy?
Jordan Reed needs bare minimum 14 games this year. Alex Smith desperately needs weapons. In 2 yards of space, Tyreek Hill is the most dangerous man in the NFL. He doesn't have him anymore. He does not have the league's leading rusher in Kareem Hunt anymore. But if you're talking about in a vacuum, Alex Smith or Kirk Cousins, I think now I would rather have Alex Smith. And you know, I'm trying to be a little optimistic, but I think I would rather have him. I do believe though that he signed him for the right. So exactly. So I like the Alex Smith trade.
Sorry, just a quick question. Wasn't trying to get off topic.
No.
I don't think I've had a chance to really talk to you about that in a while.
That's important. And okay, so I'll kind of segue that into the draft, our last part of the draft with who I think that the Redskins should take. And so we've already talked about some of those quarterbacks going: Barkley, Chubb, Nelson, the cornerback Denzel out of Ohio State, he's going to be gone. I believe Derwin James, the safety out of Florida State, he's going to be gone. I'm pretty sure that Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker out of Virginia Tech, will be gone. If not, I would have zero problem with us taking him. But we were dead last, 32nd out of 32 teams last year in stopping the run. We could not stop the run with an 11-man box. If you put everyone in the box, we just couldn't stop the run. Okay. So like I said before, if you're worse than Cleveland at something, you draft that. You draft that. So we need to take the best defensive lineman available at 13. And after, you know, having months and months to go over it, the kid out of Washington, the defensive tackle Vita Vea, he's going to be our first pick at 13. He's a plug-in player. You want someone in the first round, in my opinion, and especially in the first half of the first round, that person needs to come in and make an immediate impact. You need, and it's probably true in like an Andrew Luck or a John Elway or someone to come into the draft.
Well, we thought that was going to be RG3.
We really did. And so he had one of the most incredible rookie years we've ever seen. And then, you know, the wheels fell off. So anyways,
literally and metaphorically.
You're right. Yeah. God, it was bad. But I digress. Edmonds would be great if he failed us at 13. But Vita Vea is a plug-in player. He's got speed, remarkable speed for the size that he is, and can stop the run, which is the most important for me, but he can also rush the passer. I think that it's not going to take long for him and Jonathan Allen together for one of those guys to start drawing double teams, which would be
Leave the other guy
fantastic. Exactly. Leave the other guy open, and you leave Kerrigan even more room off the edge.
And if you give Kerrigan off that edge, like you said, he's going to make those plays.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Now, this might have something to do with the fact that he's been injured for a season and a half, but Ryan Kerrigan was drafted the same year as J.J. Watt, only has 6.5 less sacks than J.J. Watt.
Very underrated.
Yeah, very underrated. Now, I think if you're just going to compare those two directly, there's no comparison. But Ryan Kerrigan quietly gets double-digit sack seasons. So I am desperate for a lineman.
You would so you wouldn't draft, if you're Redskins, you wouldn't draft an offensive line, anybody on the offensive line either, because they were not great. They were not great either.
The first round.
Okay.
The first pick has to be your most dire need. And now, when we have that conversation, it obviously opens up the problem. It illuminates the problem that the Redskins have more than one dire need.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we don't have a true number one wide receiver. We're not keeping Breeland. So, you know, there's questions opposite Josh Norman at corner. I would love for us to, you know, get another safety. I think that Brandon Sheriff has panned out extremely well. He'll probably have to get paid after this offseason. When Trent Williams is healthy, I believe he is the best at his position in the NFL.
Yeah, he's a monster.
So D-line, that's the largest need. In the second round, I think it's almost as much of a consensus as it is in the first round for us to take a D lineman, that in the second round we go running back. Yeah, I think
is that because Finn Robb is now, he's not very proven, and Chris Thompson is not always healthy. Did you say that?
Right, exactly. And it's a damn shame because Chris Thompson started to blossom into exactly what the elite running backs in this league are. In my opinion, all around for doing everything, Le'Veon Bell is the best running back in the NFL.
Definitely.
He regularly approaches or eclipses 2,000 all-purpose yards in a season. This year, Todd Gurley did that. This year, the rookie of the year, Alvin Kamara, in New Orleans, had what? He had like 9 rushing touchdowns and 5 receiving or something like that. Kareem Hunt had the most rushing as a rookie. But anyways, that scat back, that's exactly why Barkley, there was discussion for him early on to be the number 1 overall pick, a running back. Since when does that happen? You know, with the lifespan of those guys. Exactly. And this year it'll be a quarterback too. So, but anyways, what was I? Oh yeah, Chris Thompson. Yeah, I think that running back, that needs to be addressed. And if you're going to, you know, second and third round, I say not in the first round because again, D-line is our biggest need. And also, excuse me, guys like Hunt and Kamara and even Le'Veon Bell, they're all later round picks. Now, yes, Barkley, Elliott, Fournette, Gurley, they're all top 10 picks. Adrian Peterson was 7th in his draft, but the combination of a short lifespan of running backs in the NFL, and it's not our biggest need, I say wait till the second round.
All right.
So that's my draft analysis for you know, the top 10 picks and then what the Redskins do. Hopefully they go D-line. Anything else, and I'm going to be iffy.
I mean, our defense has been shoddy for such a long time. I mean, and I think the biggest thing you said is we don't have time for projects. We need somebody to come in and start playing right away and, like you said, make an immediate impact.
Yeah, you take the best player available, the most sure thing. And unfortunately, there's maybe once every X amount of years, there's a sure thing in the draft. And I believe that at 13, or our opportunity as Vita Vea is the closest thing to that. Barkley doesn't fall to us. Chubb doesn't fall to us. I honestly don't think Derwin James will fall to us. Those guys are sure things.
Is there any chance Vita Vea gets picked before we get to him, you think maybe?
No, I haven't seen any speculation on any team needing a defensive lineman of falling to us. You know, like I said, Edmonds out of Virginia Tech, you know, he could go first. Chubb is the best defensive lineman in this draft, and so he's going to go very, very early, possibly as early as 4 to Cleveland. Yeah, man.
Did you say anything about Daron Payne at all? Would you, like, if for some reason we didn't go Vaitai, would you be upset if we went Daron Payne?
Nope.
Nope.
I would be totally fine with Daron Payne, especially if, like Matt said, if for some reason Villa was gone.
Yeah.
But even if he wasn't, I'm fine with Payne. I want Villa that's my first choice. But Payne, I mean, let's face it, Alabama is a pro factory. All that school does is win rings and put guys into the first round of the NFL. And so last year, unfortunately, Jonathan Allen got hurt.
Yeah.
But when he wasn't, he was present and he was causing problems.
Yeah.
And hopefully he's healthy all year this year, and he's going to cause even more problems. Like I said, in conjunction with whoever we draft.
Yeah.
For the line. Totally good with Payne. Thanks for bringing him up. Totally good with Payne. Yeah. No, man, that's
I just was scrolling through the list real quick of like defensive linemen, and I'd heard his name before because I've been so involved with the NHL playoffs, not necessarily focused.
Well, they're so
draft,
ready in the SEC. Those defenses, and they play lots of times. They play good quarterbacks. They play deadly wide receiver and running back talent. Alabama doesn't really throw the ball. All they do is they have Julio Jones and Amari Cooper and Calvin Ridley and all these years, and then they have the biggest, bulkiest battering ram of a running back you've ever seen in your life. So that's why, Daron Payne or Villa. Oh, I would love either one of them.
If the Skins balked it and picked up Calvin Ridley, how mad would you be?
I'd be furious. I mean, even if like, I mean, Calvin Ridley would have to be a runaway offensive rookie of the year for me to be like all right with it. I think we're so depleted at defense that sure, it would be great. I guess I could respect the decision, seeing, okay, we just brought in a new quarterback. He's going to need some weapons, give him Calvin Ridley. But in my opinion, the need on defense is bigger than Calvin.
Well, I was about to say, one of my biggest things is, I mean, even with Kirk Cousins there, he was able to prove that he can still score. He can still get the ball in the end zone. But the problem is if we're going to let teams run all over us and we can't stop them from scoring, we're never going to be able to win games. Now, granted, we weren't blowing teams out. We weren't striking every single drive or anything. But at the same time, our defense has been a horrible hole for many a year now.
Personally, the pass game was laughable.
Absolutely. We're literally Swiss cheese, just thrown right through us every single time.
And also, there were also last year, there was some couple times where, and I don't mean to pick on Norman, but there were a couple plays where like Norman, he dropped a pick, and then literally the next play we got scored on. I think that happened in like the first game against Philly. Like he dropped one in the end zone, and then they threw like a touchdown, and then the game went the other way.
Yeah, these fatal flaws.
Yeah.
And I think that I've said it on podcasts before. Give me the best defensive unit over the best offensive unit.
Yeah,
defense wins championships.
Any day of the week. Just look at you don't even have to go back that far. Look at Seattle versus Denver, and look at Tampa Bay versus Oakland, and look at the Ravens Super Bowls versus defense. I mean, even the Patriots defense beat the greatest show on turf.
Yep.
And that no one talks about that defense in the echelon of all. Please, dear God, no, Calvin Ridley.
Well, I mean, I think that's prevalent. I think that's prevalent in every single sport. I mean, if you're not able to stop somebody else from being able to score, you're never going to be able to win.
Yeah. And besides the fact that defense can score as well.
Oh, yeah.
So they can get fumble recoveries and they can get pick sixes. So
and
that's
correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't I think it's every interception Kerrigan has, he's pretty much run back for a pick six.
I don't know
how many interceptions he has.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's like 3 or 4. But I mean,
he doesn't. It's usually sacks for him. But I do know of at least 2 pick sixes that he has.
Oh, yeah. And I know one of them was against Philly in the opening of the year.
Right,
extremely happy about that one.
Yeah, for the quarterback to throw up a lollipop and they didn't see him. And but oh well, take advantage.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have anything else to cover on the draft. Unfortunately, I'll probably be watching the Caps game because that'll be on Thursday, and you'll probably be most likely watching the draft. So you'll have to.
You're right. I will absolutely be watching the draft. Thank you for acknowledging that, Dan.
I will probably be locked in on the draft.
Yeah, I was talking about Pat. Man.
No, I know.
No, you. Kidding. But we are going because now we're gonna get into this Caps series again. This Cap series against the Penguins coming up starting Thursday.
I'm literally closing my eyes the entire series and just hoping and praying for the demise that is the most likely situation to just at least take 7 games and at least have us a decent showing, because I don't think we're going to be able to do it.
I'm going to say if we were to win, it would be in 7, is all I'm going to say. If we do, because it's been notorious that we don't finish series. This is the first series we just faced. Shockingly, we won in 6. I said we'd win in 5. You said in 7. You and Mikey said 7.
And it was a long
technically
It was a whole extra game.
Technically, they played 7 games in the length amount of games. They played 7 technically with all the overtimes.
I have not spent beyond belief.
Well, I'm kind of actually
in this series against the Penguins, who just was it not a joke? The series the Penguins just had.
So it really was at first, because I mean it literally went 7-0 Pens. I think it was 6-1 Philly, and then it was like 6-2, and then I think it was 6-1 Pitt again, and then Pitt took the lead. And I was really, really hoping that Philly was at least going to be able to pull out a game 7, and if not, at least beat them and go to the second round, at least wear them down a little more. I'm happy to see Malkin and Hagelin are apparently dealing with injuries in our day-to-day. Not that necessarily changes anything from their lineup, but I honestly...
Toronto actually made this game a 7-game series because it gives the Caps an extra day of rest.
BC, I don't want that, because the Caps are notorious for when we get more rest, coming back looking like shit and not being able to get our game together right off the bat.
But they played Monday, and they're going to play Thursday. It's like 2 days. That's not a big deal. If they would have played, say, Friday, then I'd be worried.
True. I was worried the game was going to be Saturday and it was going to be too much time.
They've been notorious of 4 days rest to play like absolute dog shit.
I completely agree.
And it's not good.
Why is that? Why would more rest? I mean, do you think that is there some momentum lost? Why? Because I mean, I see, I am not as much of the hockey expertise as you guys, but it doesn't take it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that, guys. I mean, there's a reason they line change all the time. I mean, it's exhausting. Why would more rest be a negative?
I don't know if you'll have a separate opinion than me than I do, Matt. My opinion is the fact that I think it's not routine. Then at that point, it's not routine. They're like their bodies are ingrained to play 1 to 2 days, like either a 1 day break and then play, or maybe a 2. The third day of rest, I think it just throws things off out of like a routine. I think
I also agree with that to a degree. I think that's part of it, but I think, to me, the way I see it, I think part of it might also be that lack of game reps that you're getting. Because I mean, you're going through practices, you're going through drills, you're doing these things, but it's not the game. Like, there is a different game tempo, and especially when it comes down to the playoffs, you'll hear every single player say this, like every sport, playoffs are an entirely different animal. The pressure's on, your adrenaline's kicking that much more, every moment, every shift, every hit, every shot.
Like do or die.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think sometimes when you are out of that mentality for a little bit, like when you take that extra day and you're doing more reps, maybe, you just lose that step that you were in. Okay. Now, to me, I think one of the best things I saw was game 4. We came out, we skated hard for a full 60. We were skating, we were shooting, we were defending. We did everything right. Holtby was looking fantastic in net. And then we followed that up with game 5 with doing the same normal Capitals thing that we do is, not playing a full 60. And Mikey even said it himself when we were hanging out here Friday night. That's what a full effort will get you.
Yeah.
And I honestly think if we can find some will of a way to play that way against Pittsburgh, we might actually be able to pull it off. But Pittsburgh, the dangerous thing for me is the Blue Jackets, as good of a team as they are, they do not have the playoff experience. The Penguins are basically the Patriots of hockey. They will find a way to win. They know how to win. They have the experience. They've done it in back-to-back years. And not to mention, you watch them come back against Pittsburgh, against Philly, down 2 or 3 goals. They find that will. When they're down, they find a way to succeed. They find a way to make tic-tac-toe passes and burn you easily. And I honestly don't know if we're going to be able to have the skill to get past them.
I mean, good.
Well, so I was just going to say it was more of, like a broad, a more broad question was, so I think that, at least in my opinion, the two, especially starting with the third game of the series with Columbus, the two anchors of the team, one, like it's always been, was Ovi, the grade 8. And the other one was when Trotz decided to change from Grubauer to Holtby. So if obviously leave it all on the ice in the playoffs, if you needed one of these guys to have the series for the ages the stupidest series they have ever played, who do you think we would need to see more out of? I'm asking specifically against Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
Would Pittsburgh falter more against the greatest goalie performance in a series or the greatest pure goal scorer in a series? Who really needs to show up and earn their paycheck?
I have my answer, but I'm gonna let Dan go first.
Okay, so I saw
Well, great question.
it is a good,
Cool.
very good question. I saw thing of two lineup of two stats today, and it was a heads up of Ovi against Crosby in the playoffs. They each have played 10 games against each other. I think we've gone because one or something like 10 to 13 games, something like that.
For Holpe?
No. Ovi against
Ovi and
Ovi
Crosby.
and Crosby.
Yeah, it's something like
something.
that.
Like, they play the same amount of games
Yeah.
against each other. Ovi actually has more points
Mhm.
and he has more goals.
Yep.
He has more assists, more goals. And he has technically it's like 25 points for Ovi and like
Ovi
22
usually
for Crosby.
raises his game in big situations,
So-
especially against
And he's got
Pittsburgh.
more power play points. He's got more shots and something else. If you look at a heads up matchup between the two of them when they play in the playoffs, now other people on Pittsburgh's team step up
exactly
to
that's
help
what I was
out.
gonna say.
and other people on ours have faded away. So I would say Holpe. In that, for your question, I would say Holpe because Ovi steps up his game when he has to play Pittsburgh, and he played like this last series though. I never like in closeout games. Ovi's never put out 5 goals. I mean 2 goals. He's never scored 2 goals in a closeout game.
Yeah.
And he had 5 goals in 6 games
Mhm.
this first series, which is not normal for him. He's a
Yeah.
point per game player in the
Yeah.
playoffs. He's not almost a goal per game player in the playoffs. Granted, two different games he had 2 goals.
So I absolutely agree with you. I was 100% going to say Holpe, and the reason why I say that is I do think we have talent out there. I think the way we played against Pittsburgh, the Blue Jackets in these last 4 games was very great. If you ask me, Carlson may have the numbers, but I think Orlov has actually been our most dynamic defenseman throughout that entire series. Like every time he got the puck on his stick, I was excited to see what he was going to do with it next. I think the players are going to do okay. I think we're going to get our chances. I think we're going to score some goals. Murray's not exactly having a top flight playoff performance like he has the last 2 seasons. But to me, Pittsburgh works as a team. Everything they do is a team effort. When Cindy, and I will always call him Cindy, I don't care where we are, wherever he is, if he is being shut down, Malkin step up. If Malkin gets shut down, Hornquist will step up. If Hornquist gets shut down, Gensel will step up. Gensel just had 4 goals closing out Philly the other night. If you ask me, we cannot have the Braden Holtby that we had last series against them. Because if you go, and I have watched these playoff games numerous times, and if you watch every single goal he let in, basically, they were just off of his body somehow and into the net. They were, a couple of them were clean shots in, but like, for instance, the second goal they scored, Game 7, I forgot who scored it, but they throw a backhand. It goes off of the top of Holtby's shoulder and into the net. I mean, we can't have that. Pittsburgh's going to come out firing. We need
fluky goals.
We need Holtby to have the series of a lifetime. And I honestly think that's one of the things we've been waiting for all these years. You know, when we were high flying and had one of the greatest offenses. Oh my God, I feel like I can't say that word. Offenses in the NHL. We had no goalie to be able to back it up, or we had no defense. And I think when Braden came in, that was the workhorse. And we sat there and we went, this is it. This is who we're going to put our dreams on. And I think we overplayed him. I think he got tired during the season. I think he got overexhausted. I think he got overprepared. And I think that rest and putting Grubauer in game 1 and 2 made sense for the way things were going. Holtby came in and stepped up and had a great playoff series. Took us 4 straight games to be able to close the Blue Jackets out. As much as I like Gruby as a goaltender, I don't think we're doing that without Holtby in net. But I think Holtby will be the determining factor in this series.
I mean, I think I liked what we there was more tips. There's more deflections for us this past series than I've seen in the last 7 years, I think.
Yeah.
Like there was more of a net front presence from last night, from the last game. Ovi got a goal right in front of the net. Wilson's getting tip-ins. Wilson, who doesn't know anything how to do but throw a fist at somebody normally.
Hey, he's playing hockey this year. I can't knock him.
I mean, yeah, it's shocking though to see that's what he was supposed. That's what we drafted him for, was to get his big gigantic ass in front of the net and learn how to deflect.
He's supposed to be a young Mike Knuble.
Yes, now he needs to be an old Mike Knuble. It still puts stuff in the net. But no, you have everybody's going. I mean, did you see that Chandler Stevenson flying?
Oh my God.
That
Came out
little
of nowhere.
shorthanded goal he got. Smith Pelly has been known to be a playoff performer, even though he hasn't been in the playoffs very often. When he was with Anaheim, he didn't do very bad. That was a beautiful snipe top shot.
I've never been more happy to be wrong, by the way. We gave him so much shit in the first episode podcast leading into this, talking about he's shit, put Vrana in, or put Garcic in.
Someone else.
Yeah, exactly, because they had more speed. And then he goes out there, not only gets a good goal in game 1 that was set up by Vrana, which I was disappointed to see him.
From Ovi's office.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was a little close for Ovi's office. Ovi's usually about like 5 feet away. But
he likes the left circle. Yes.
Yes.
That's
Yes. Well, first of all, he doesn't like it. That's where he lives.
That's
He just says,
where-
"Hey,
that's
give
where
me
it's
puck hit, I shoot, score goal."
He has a desk and a filing cabinet
Exactly.
set up in there.
And
Good
Nick,
for him.
and
Little
Nick,
electric pencil sharpener.
Yeah, yeah.
but and like I
Old
said,
school
I've never
pencils
been
are
more happy
old
to be
school.
wrong. Game 6, DSP flies down the wing and snipes it top shelf on Bob. I've never been more happy to be wrong. But again, we still have to keep that up in the next series. We have to skate with them. We got to shoot. We got to get to the dirty areas. And I do think part of it, Mikey always says, is Trotz's system is too simple. Like we're too routine. I honestly think that's the Pittsburgh thing we talked about during the Super Bowl podcast, that
Right.
the Patriots always win because they're able to pick apart their opponent and adjust to what they're doing
The
and
adjustments,
find a way to win.
Totally
And I
the
feel
adjustments.
and I feel like that's exactly what Pittsburgh does. You might get a couple goals on them, you might start getting things going, but they're going to start finding a way to work around what it is you're doing and come back and win that
that's
game.
scary as hell.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
that's frustrating.
Well, another thing, I remember you were saying in the first round you didn't want to see I think it was you. You didn't want to see Juzen. Was it you? I thought one of us said that we didn't want to see Juzen.
I wanted to see Jews in.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I was listening. Maybe some prognosticators listening to it on TV like, no, we want Yara back.
Oh, the experts.
And then he gets his guy
no.
gets beat in game 2.
Grant Paulson is not an expert. He's not. If Alan May had said that, then I would have been like, oh, okay, maybe.
No, not this Paulson dude.
Not Grant Paul, the guy from 106, Grant and Danny, that guy.
Sure.
You've never listened.
I
to
think it's Grant
Danny
Paulson.
ever?
I think who is your thing. I don't know if that's who said, but I think Grant.
That's exactly what I'm
Paulson,
talking about. He knows nothing.
So, like another thing that I was really interested in, and this kind of goes back a little bit before the postseason, but so this tale as old as time. The Caps have never really had a problem getting to the postseason. It's getting over that hump.
Yeah,
but dealing with the regular season were, what were like the biggest? All right, let me ask you this way: what was the most refreshing thing about the Caps regular season? What I mean by that is, did you have either high expectations for somebody or incredibly low expectations for someone that like completely proved that wrong? Someone that like showed up and you're like, oh my God, finally, or like some, a new addition to the team, like someone that was like a breath of fresh air to the Caps. What could we not have done without this season other than Ovi?
If you ask me, I think one of the most standout things, and I've said this on other podcasts, there's certain guys that have come in that I kind of like, I said, I'm going to wait to see how they do before I really, kind of judge them, especially because, they might show up for a second and then not really do anything and then step up. Lars Eller to me has been a standout performance. He's put up career numbers, and we got him last year. I really didn't think that much of him. I thought he was an okay player. Like I really wasn't that impressed with him. I was kind of like, I don't understand why we got him. But like Daniel Winnick, came here at first, didn't really do much. The following season, standout performance. And I honestly think Lars Eller has been huge for us. And in fact, I think it was game 5. Yeah, it was game 5 in DC. Lars Eller has a one-handed pass coming away from the wall and hits John Carlson directly in front of the net for a breakout chance. Now, Carlson didn't finish that sack of shit. But to me,
cut him.
Well, the problem is we might have to, depending on how much money he's going to ask for in the offseason.
You pay him and you're going to ship him.
Oh, I agree. We should pay him. But I honestly think Lars Eller to me was someone I did not see coming. I kind of didn't expect much out of him coming out of the season. And I think he is, again, one of those people we're going to need to actually step up in a huge way against Pittsburgh.
The end. So I kind of two. The end of the season was Shane Gersich signing from college.
Yeah.
And I can't. He played 3 games and he had 1 assist. But the 3 games he played, though, he made his presence known. He's not necessarily. He's probably maybe 5'10", so he's not an overly big guy. But he forced turnovers from the other team, drove the net. It was things you don't see from players that play on the Caps always. It was a guy that's always, he was willing to go to the net, always forechecking hard. And, you know, and especially in the first 2 games, when you jump from college to the pros, it's a little different. Now, sometimes you just might be reacting on instinct and they just
pure adrenaline.
Yeah. But if
it's all the riffraff that's been leaving out, now you're just playing.
Yeah. And so, I mean, so he may have just been going with it, and it seemed to look nice. So I'm very optimistic for next season when he plays. But it's something we've expected, I guess, of him, and I didn't because he hasn't had. But Tom Wilson, shockingly, had an okay year where I was actually like, oh, okay,
he's doing some things now.
Now he's gone the other way where I've asked, like, all right, Tom, stop trying to stand up for everybody, stop taking penalties, but he's actually making that top line work. And I was not a very big proponent of him being on it.
Yes.
Like, I was like, why wouldn't you put Oshie back up there, or Burakovsky, Brana, somebody to help move that puck with Ovi? But he's actually going to the net and being that big guy and dragging people to him and getting Ovi more space. And I think that's why Ovi was able to get so many regular 5-on-5 goals this year instead of only playoff
exactly.
goals.
Well, it's like we said, Wilson was brought in to be a younger version of Knuble. We brought him to be that hard-nosed player because if you look at that top line of Nicky, Ovi, and Knuble worked because Knuble would go to the dirty areas when the other guys wouldn't. And, you know,
he got like 25 goals almost a year. That just not even a stick length away from the crease.
Yeah, and honestly, this is the thing I'm getting a lot of shit from Fallon and a couple of my other friends for always ragging on Wilson.
You have friends?
Yeah, I mean, there's like one. Hey, Steven.
I have one too.
Right. Hey,
Austin.
Yeah. Oh wow. Ooh, I like that. I like it crowded.
But they always tell me, like, you know, I always give like Wilson shit, and like they're big fans of Wilson. I mean, but I will say, as much as I give him shit, I've slowly had to kind of pull back on that a little bit because he's actually doing hockey things, not just literally fighting anybody who looks at him twice, but he's actually. You know, he's deflecting pucks. He's actually shooting. He actually had a breakaway on Bobrovsky, and he tried to do the same move he did during the regular season and tried to slip it 5-hole on him. It didn't work. But I mean, he's moving his feet. He's creating plays, and he's creating space for Ovi and Nicky to, Kuzi in this instance, to do other things. And I have to give him credit for it.
The thing that worries me is this next series is how does he handle Hornquist? Because Hornquist is a super agitator.
Oh yeah,
he's like he's not. When I say he's better at it than almost like Sean Avery, because Sean Avery
I know that's actually kind of a bold statement.
No, when I say it is, when I say
that's a name that even the most casual hockey fan knows.
Yeah. So when I say
Pat's like, wait, Sean Avery, I know that name.
Yeah. So when I say that, I say this because Sean Avery didn't really score that much at all.
He was a pure goon.
Yes, right. And he wasn't a very big goon. He just was very annoying. Yeah. But Patrick Hornquist
can play.
Can play. He'll agitate you. He'll take extra jabs at the goalie, but he'll get deflections, and he'll actually, you know, he doesn't snipe like real snipes, but he does that guy like digging in front of the net, and he gets his goals. And but he also drives teams fucking crazy.
So this was actually going to be.
That's why I say he's better than Sean Avery, because Sean Avery could just like Sean Avery's known for the whole Brodeur thing where he stood face Brodeur the other way, and they made a rule so he can't do that anymore. Right. But Sean Avery couldn't score either. Like, he didn't score very well.
So this was going to be something. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to kind of go off of that, and then you can. I was just so. How do you? I mean, I don't know if anyone has like, you know, the magic answer, but how do you approach a player like that specifically that you wouldn't normally do, you know, with another regular player, like someone who plays vanilla, maybe someone who just plays straight up hockey, a guy who is almost hockey is secondary to agitation.
You have to be able to draw that line between defending your teammates and getting into that scrum when you know he's trying to draw you into it.
That's all he's trying to do.
Yeah, because I mean, every playoff series, every game, there's always going to be scrums after the whistles. There's going to be guys who are going hard to the net, because that's the thing in the playoffs. You have to play until that whistle stops. And until you hear a whistle, you're taking whacks at the goalie. And when you take whacks at the goalie, you're going to get grabbed, you're going to get pulled, you're going to get shoved up against the boards. Yeah. And I think Tom Wilson learned this lesson the other night when he came in hot after one of those types of plays and threw the guy basically, and they put him in the box. They scored off of that. Yeah. And you have to draw that line between sticking up for your teammates and getting him away from your goalie and taking a penalty because he's goading you into it.
I mean, and it probably goes without saying, but is Pittsburgh a high have a high success rate on power plays?
Yes.
Yeah, they actually have.
So this is what I was going to bring up
in
is
the playoffs.
considering how many penalties there were on both sides for the Blue Jacket series, on us and against us. We, as much as our penalty kill started looking better towards the end of it, I think we went like 0 for 8, I think, in the last few games there. I do not want to give them that chance. They are much more dangerous in every single possible way than Columbus was. Again, respect to Columbus. They played a hell of a series. They pushed us to the limit. They really did. I mean, a couple of those goals, a couple of those overtimes could have gone either way. But we have to make sure they're the ones taking penalties. And if Malkin plays, Malkin is known for being a prima donna, little bitch. You get under his skin in 5 seconds, and he's going to take a stupid retaliatory penalty. That's what we need. We need to get under their skin and keep ourselves out of the box, because that power play is just as, or if not more dangerous than ours.
So if you're just comparing the two, Pittsburgh's PK is at like a 90.5% right now.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah, they got a really good PK right now, and ours is like an 83.
Mm-hmm.
So we're actually 7th and they're 3rd in PK.
Okay. Where are we at for PP?
Power play, we're first with 33% on our
in the
power
playoffs,
play.
Or
In the playoffs.
I was about to say not in the
no,
right.
in the playoffs.
Where's Pittsburgh?
And Pittsburgh is 8th and they're 20.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but the thing is, you can never,
yeah,
like just like us with Nicky, Kuzi, Oshie, Ovi, and Carlson. You cannot give Pittsburgh an inch with Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, Letang.
I was about to say a name we haven't mentioned. It was Kessel.
Yeah,
and that little fat fuck is seriously.
It has always disturbed me how he is overweight, like a motherfucker, and still skates so goddamn well.
No, well, he skates well. He skates well, and it's funny. He is everybody tries to shoot like him.
Yeah,
he shoots off his opposite foot.
Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of people really do that.
Well, it's a thing now. Everybody shoots with their forearms.
Yeah.
Nobody does the full wrister transferring weight. Everybody.
Wait, you mean what I've been doing for years? I mean, I never said I do it well,
like
but I've been trying to
do foot, and then they just fully lean into the shot to
Yeah.
get their forearm.
And not to mention, it's a quick release, so it's
right.
It's the goalie has to be ready for it before they even shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that goes without saying.
He's known for that shot, and his shot is clearly. I think it carried when he got to Pittsburgh. I think even though he didn't win, I don't think he won the MVP either one of those 2 seasons.
No,
he didn't win the Conn Smythe, is what I mean.
And if you ask me,
Yeah.
Murray should have gotten it that first year he was there.
True,
He absolutely won on that cup.
True, but Phil, if they didn't have Phil, I don't think they would have won them.
But that's one reason why I'm saying
Yeah.
that's why I am so much more scared of. I mean, obviously, with all due respect, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions for a reason. But for instance, when we get shut down on some of our top line guys, we kind of worry whether the other people are going to produce. Pittsburgh does not have that concern.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, all 4 lines run one unit. You almost could interchange guys in and out of there, and I feel like they're still going to have the same production results. So one of my big things that Pat was asking we actually have people. Hello.
Yeah. Someone said they're afraid that they're going to use that against Wilson in the playoffs.
They absolutely are.
And then someone said it sounds like we're jealous of Phil Kessel.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm almost as fat as Phil Kessel, but he plays so much better than me. But
yeah.
no, like Pat was asking, one thing that we were really happy or really surprised to see about in the season. One of my biggest concerns coming from the regular season going into the playoffs is our net front defense. And I said it last time going into the Blue Jacket series, and I'm going to say it again going into this one. If you give it, we've been giving people chances next to our net all season long, and we get crushed for it.
Well,
you cannot give.
There was a glimpse of that. There was a glimpse of that when Foligno got his backdoor tap in last night.
So do you think that was a partial factor, or maybe the major? I don't know whether it was more Grubauer or that. Do you think that was a factor in Trotz ending up going with Holtby instead of Grubauer, or was it more of a goalie? Was there, and also maybe was there still a lapse in net front defense when Holtby was there too?
Yeah, I would say a little bit when Holtby was there in the beginning of the season, and then like at the very beginning of the season, they didn't give Grubauer any sort of help. Any sort of help. And
those games he lost were not necessarily reflective to how good he played.
His first 5 games, I don't think he won, and he looked like shit because the Caps didn't defend for him.
Yeah.
Now they got better at it, and then he also stepped his game up towards the end of the season.
Well, we also had how many new defensemen and still learning the process.
True, but also which is why I think he got to start. And I watched an interview with Holtby earlier today that he was saying that Philip did a great job for them, and he understood why. And all Holtby did was just to take extra skates to the point of exhaustion at practice, just to rework stuff on himself.
Yeah.
And break himself down and get better on things, little things, getting back to those quick shoots, which kind of scares me because when he first started, I mean, it was
a
wild,
man.
Yes,
Yeah.
you need to rein that back in a little bit. But I will say, and I said this on the one podcast, and I said this when I was on the Other Side of Sports podcast. I did one. I said you put Grubauer in and you ride him until the wheels fall off, and then when the wheels fall off, even though we didn't win any games first, I said and if they fall off, you put your stud goalie back in, and then I think you do what Pittsburgh did. Granted, it worked for Pittsburgh towards the end because they
got
didn't
all
have
the
to
way
put
to the conference final.
Yeah, before they had to put Murray back in. But
so my thing is like I said, I absolutely think putting Grubauer in game one was understandable. I think it made perfect sense. Like Dan said, if something doesn't go right, you can always put Holby back in. And I didn't think game one was entirely his fault. I think we took so many penalties, kept riding him out on the PK. He was destined to fail, basically. Like, I don't think we played that well in front of him. I do think there were a couple of those goals, like particularly the ones where they would pass the puck over to the right corner and roof it on him over his shoulder.
Yeah.
That happened at least 3 to 4 times, if I remember correctly. I'd have to go back and watch the footage, but I'm pretty sure it at least happened 3 times. And that, to me, was kind of like, if you're going to be the number one goaltender, especially going into the playoffs and you're expected to win, you're going to have to steal some games. When the defense breaks down in front of you, you're going to have to make adjustments. And when they're scoring that goal repeatedly and you're still letting it in, that's a problem. Now, one thing I noticed in game 3, the game we went to the double overtime, which is, so I noticed small things like this, and maybe it's just me overhyping these kinds of things that I see, or I don't know, I just noticed it. But one of those things was the same situation happened. And Holtby even got scored on one of those, by the way. Pass over to the right circle, roofed it over his shoulder. But then again, after that happened, the next time I saw the same play happen, he stood up a little higher and leaned forward when that shot came. And I'm sitting there going, and that's why you're the number one goaltender, because you realize that's what they're trying to do. And you're making an adjustment to shut that down, to make them force them to take a different shot, to force them to try to make a different play.
I mean, he definitely improved. I mean, a lot. You could definitely see we played better, at least a little bit. We didn't give them as much as we normally do.
Yeah.
Especially I think we learned from game 1 and 2. We gotta stop Panarin. Panarin's their number one.
Yeah.
And granted, Cam Atkinson is not. He's like a 1A, 1B, I think sometimes. Yeah. But he was clearly their one, and then clearly he was not even. He didn't even. I don't think he tallied a point the next 3 games.
No, we did a really good job of shutting down their stars.
Now there will be more stars this game.
Yes, that's the problem.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not even necessarily that these guys are stars all across the league, but Pittsburgh plays such a really well-rounded team game.
Yeah.
That they might not necessarily put up dazzling Ovechkin and Crosby points, which, by the way, I think Crosby has 13 points right now.
He does.
I think it's like 6 goals and 7 assists
in one series.
Yes, in one series. And I mean, don't get me wrong. The Flyers are not necessarily the best defensive team.
Well,
so it comes with a little bit of.
Let's say, if we're honest, their first game was 7-0 against.
Right. There's some stat padding going on there.
I mean, he did have a hat trick that game. I think he might have had an assist too. Yeah. But it's one of those things where the Penguins might not necessarily be star-studded. They do, don't get me wrong. They do have Malkin, Letang, Kressel, Crosby, all these guys.
Yeah.
But they play such a good team game that everybody on that team is collecting points. So they might not necessarily be putting up top points in the league, but everybody's getting points because they're playing a great team game. And that's what makes them the most dangerous.
So I think we've almost said everything that could be said, I think, essentially. We're circling the wagons kind of on
basically.
This
yeah. The last thing I was just going to try and wrap up on, I guess, is, assuming, so if I say can the Caps win? You're like, yeah, sure. I mean, there's always a chance.
Any given Sunday.
And so then if I said the Caps will win the series only if.
Again, I think it comes down to what we talked about earlier. I think you need Holtby to literally steal you as many games as he possibly can. And I think for the games that he doesn't, we're going to have to light Murray up. Because, like I said, rewatching the old series against Pittsburgh last year, he was strong in a lot of ways, but some of those goals he could have easily stopped.
How many shots on goal do you think we need to have a game?
I would love to have 40 like we had against Columbus, but that's
Pepper.
I think 30 to 35 shots a game.
On goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because any shot that technically doesn't hit doesn't count as a shot.
Yeah. Okay. But one of the things is, and I think I think it's a good question to ask because we have to put a lot of shots on because Murray's not having that stellar of a playoff series like we've seen him have the last two. Because the last 2 seasons, Murray, when he's been on, has been lights out. And when Murray wasn't in there, Fleury was doing the same thing. But if you remember, in game 5 and 6, we lit Fleury up. So, I mean, it's possible to take down the Giant, but we have to play a full 60-minute, 200-foot game.
Yeah, you do. And I would say it's nothing nobody said before, but you got to get bodies in front. Yeah, you got to get bodies in front. If I had to like wrap this up in 3 things, I would say for me, it'd be bodies in front. Kuzi's got to continue to shoot the puck, move the puck and shoot it.
Yes, Kuzi's got to shoot more. He's trying to get too cute.
Yeah, he's got to shoot the puck on net. Nicky is shooting, and I'm gonna say it again, get rid of that damn slingshot pass.
Mm-hmm. But it's past bedtime. That's past time.
But I'm gonna say it just because it is.
Is it time for bed? Yeah. Oh my god, it does.
Oh my god, you're such a child. But I'm gonna say, Grandpa. I'm gonna say if the Caps win, it'll be in 7.
Okay.
A grueling 7, I think.
I do agree with you. I think one of the biggest things is I think we need to get bodies in front of the net. I think we need to break out of our zone well, and I think we need to be able. I need to forecheck the living hell out of them and make them make stupid decisions.
Anything else?
Okay.
All right.
So, what's your predictions now, Pat? We're going to go with you first here, considering I don't think you're actually really going to watch the series all that much. I think you're going to kind of catch the cliff notes.
I mean, if it starts to come down to it, if we get into games 5, 6, and 7, I'll definitely. I can't find that. Like I said, okay, so I'm not like the biggest hockey fan or whatever, but the past few years, the Caps have gotten into the playoffs. I love watching playoffs mostly in any sport, and the guys always get all riled up, and then of course I get dragged into that dumpster fire of a disaster, and then of course womp. Down. So I told Mikey earlier, I said, I'm not watching them until they win their second conference finals game. I'm not. So, and then everyone's like, well, they might not make it. I'm like, I know. Exactly. So I'm not, but I can't just like completely bow out. But I think that,
so if we do the game like we did last time, and we like watch the game and we'll talk over it while it's playing, you won't do that on like Saturday or something.
I can do that.
Be available Saturday, so you have
I don't know what the actual game is. I just said Saturday. I'm just giving it to the day. Pat's not even gonna figure Pat's never gonna weekends anyway. So
yeah, I got business.
You got sleep is what he needs.
I do. I go to sleep. Hey, I wake up at like 5. I just wake up early until, so I need like this thing to remind me. It's not really as much a reminder. Like it's
you should probably start thinking about going to bed. That's basically what that's for. All right. So, what's your prediction? Where do you think it's going?
Oh, man, everything you guys described about, and the worst thing was that you described them as the Patriots of the NHL. So it's kind of hard to bet against them.
So if you want to also only beat them 2 out of like 13 times.
Yeah, like
and they're also the first team to win back-to-back championships since the last team to win back-to-back championships, which was the '98 Detroit Red Wings, who beat us in the final.
Was that the Red Wings? Was Toxic still there?
Maybe in the starting Russian 5.
Yeah.
Maybe that
You're right. Well, anyways, I think that in my opinion, it's so hard to bet against. I'm not picking. I pick Caps in 7. I'm not picking Pittsburgh. I don't want to pick them one either.
I mean, it's a coin flip. I think going in 7, but this series I cannot say because they just don't have history on their side to win a game or a series. I'm gonna say Caps in 7.
See, every I want you to understand, every instinct in me says Penguins in 5.
Penguins at 5?
Yeah, that's a little bit more realistic. I think ours was wishful thinking.
You don't even give the Caps 2 games?
I'm telling you from what I've seen.
All right.
No, that's not my prediction. I'm saying everything in me is telling me Penguins in 5. I gotta say Caps in 7 because I can't name you the last series I saw the Capitals play. I'm sorry, that's not true. I was gonna say where the last series with the Capitals where it didn't go 7 games, but then I remember we got swept by Tampa. I honestly gotta say, and it is because of the fanboying. Caps in 7.
I just real quick, I do think that if it does go to a game 7. So you have the basketball postseason this year. You have baseball postseason this year, and of course, every year we have football. You have the World Cup this year. If it goes to Game 7, that could arguably be the sports game of the year.
True.
With those two teams in their history, and if the Caps can somehow force Pittsburgh into a Game 7, the tension in that arena, I mean,
And it'll be in
the
DC
tickets
if we
are going to
do it.
be, you'll be lucky if you get like, I mean, bare minimum would be like, what, like an $800 or $900 ticket for the worst seat in the house?
Well, hold on,
No.
which, by the way, so the Vegas Knights, remember that thing? I don't know if you saw the thing I put in the group chat.
Yeah, it was
earlier.
$785, right?
Per ticket.
Right, per ticket.
For the Vegas
So
Golden
Game
Knights.
7 Caps versus Pittsburgh, you don't think those tickets are going to be
But
obscene?
I think it depends on where you're sitting. I don't think
Yeah.
you're paying $700 to sit in the nosebleeds.
I think there were people that would be willing to.
True, but
Yeah, those
keep in
people are
mind that'll
retarded.
also be in DC if it does happen. But I think here's one of the biggest differences before we close out. I'll just say is I think last year going into this series,
Mhm.
people everywhere across the league, no matter what was going on, were saying that's basically the Stanley Cup right there. Whoever
Yeah.
wins that
Yeah.
matchup was going to win the cup. This year, you got Vegas on the other side, who hold.
Well, they still got to play the Sharks, by the way. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, you got Vegas on the other side, who literally their first playoff series ever sweeps. Oh my god, I forgot who they played. Oh my god,
Was it the Wild?
Predators played at Avalanche.
Who played the Wild?
Vegas played. Who was it?
No, Winnipeg played the Wild.
Winnipeg. Oh my god, I can't think of
LA.
who.
They played.
Yeah, they played the
Kings.
Kings. That's right, because that was actually
Yes.
a pretty good goaltending
Yeah.
battle with Vic.
Poor
But
Quick.
first playoff series, they sweep. So I honestly think it could almost the Stanley Cup, the possible Cup winner could be between Vegas and the Predators, depending on how it goes. And honestly, and I've said this before, and I'll say it on a podcast that way. There's a record of it. Forsberg to score the overtime game-winning goal to knock out the Knights, so he can shit on GM one more time.
I like it.
I don't think they get past the Sharks.
Caps in 7. Yeah, I'm just playing.
All right. Well,
Vitavia.
it's late. It's past Pat's bedtime. Pat's got to go to bed.
It is, damn it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. This is Better Knows Best.
Yeah.
We're out. Don't text and drive.
Bye.